Hey Gemini. Happy new moon. This probably won't be out on the new moon, but it is being recorded on the day of the new moon. It is the 2nd of February. I don't know if you could tell, but I tried to do this fun like design with my lips with red and then light pink to match the sweater combo, but it didn't come out the way I wanted to, but I think it still looks good. Hope you like it. Right now, again, I know you want things to be different than they are. Excuse me. I know that you want things to change. I know that things are changing and you want them to change probably faster than they are. Mercury is coming out of retrograde, bottom of the deck. I'm going to use it. Is coming out of retrograde the 4th. This should be out by then. And that's when the plan that you're wanting starts to actually move forward. And it gets even more clear by the 14th. So in between then, I highly suggest, and we'll get more into that in the second part. So this is the first part. The first part will be on YouTube, but the second part will be on Patreon from now on, where I show you the cards, get a greater look at it, get into more detail about everything going on, and it usually gives me a different perspective and helps really bring things together even more. That will be on Patreon, which is in a link below this video. What's changing is your decision of how you choose to put different needs first. You've had a certain idea of what things need to go first in your life, what's most important to you in your life, and you're ending a cycle. So when you want to change something, it's up to you, but there's always an influence from the stars, where most people don't pick up on right away, but you understand, so you just go with it, right? So a sudden or a recent, for some of you, death, but recent experience with having to take a really hard look at what masculine values you've put in place in your life, maybe even quote unquote the patriarchal values. What are the values that made you think this is what I want? 5 of Cups to 7 of Cups. Like you're getting a hard reality check in some way in your life, and it started a while ago, but now it's really come to that point where everything's coming full circle and it's more of a decision now. You have to decide what's important to move forward from at this point, because, and again, take your time, especially if it was a recent thing. Grieving is really important. So that's also, let's go back there. When you're in this place of 5 of Cups, having a moment where you feel like you can see what you want, but it's not what you want. Whatever happened recently or whatever happened during the course of Mercury retrograde was really an introspective time for you to realize and realign yourself with what's actually important to you. Because the 7 of Cups is usually wanting things or desiring things that are not even real. And for the most part, you understand that. But there's something that's changing now. There's something that's shifting, and you are choosing to be you and free. The other twin, whatever twin that, like whatever the other twin does for you, you've needed to really give that twin a solid look. That twin needs some light, some air, and you have been giving that side of you more air, and something suddenly stopping or changing in your life made you realize what part of you is still in the 3 of Cups. What part of you put your attention on things that aren't really that important right now. What's important is that when you're making this decision about what you want your foundation to look like, that there's light and there's play and there's solid ground for that to happen. That it's a very spiritual time for you in the sense that you understand the realness and the reality of the human experience and very intimately with spirit. But when you don't recognize spirit enough or have a spiritual practice for yourself, you don't have to preach it. You don't have to go around talking about it, but putting it into your life in a way that is very useful and helpful, that could be very important right now, because it could bring together what's missing. So finding that practice or doing something that connects you to something greater than yourself can actually have all of this come around full circle, and it's not a hard decision after that. Coming back to the ground, coming back to what's really important, coming back to understanding that there's always a light, and you know that more than anyone, but there's always, I'm getting emotional, there's always a light to be seen, and there's always something to be felt. And for a lot of you, you're becoming way more in touch with yourself in a way that is so graceful and so easy to understand. And this month, because you have everything else together for the most part, because this is the one area that has really needed a lot of looking, you're able to eat with more ease. Not that it's easy, but with more ease, walk away from this habit you're finding that comes across, this cycle that you're finding comes across in your mind that leaves you maybe desperate for air. It's really important that you put yourself first this month and put this part of you first this month. If you have a job, obviously, like most people do, but if you're working or if you have a family, whatever it is, it's really crucial that you set aside time for yourself to connect. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, even if it's in the car, even if it's a moment or just a deep breath. Or even if it's just a friendly conversation with someone that you love, respect, work with, a friend, a lover, whatever that is, whoever that is. And you'll be surprised because it might not be who you were expecting, but there will be people just randomly and willing, and you understand this in your life, but willing and randomly to be kind to you and want to help you, and you could be even strangers at this point. But it's taking something big, and I don't think you even realize how big it was because it just felt normal. But this is a big change. So you should be proud of yourself, number one. I knew the tower was sitting at the bottom before, and not this past cycle, but the other one, and I had a feeling, I just felt it. It's changing a lot. You already knew this was coming. You've seen it. You just know this all happens. You forget that this happens before it's here, before that moment arrives where boom, everything shifts, everything changes. This could be, for a lot of you, this isn't a move. It's not physical. It's an epiphany shift. It's a spiritual shift. It's the higher self shift. It's this overall experience. Like, you knew each little experience that you've been going through the past 2 years, maybe longer for some of you, but this past year especially, it's almost like it was leading you up until this point, and you're like, okay, when is this going to finally come to a close? When is this specific one finally going to come to a close? With reflection right now, by Mercury retrograde, this can all come to a close, but by the time that ends, you'll see why you've had to go through all of these detailed tiny hoops recently. Aquarius season wants to know if you're ready for what you're wanting. And I know it can be cruel to do it in this way, but can you remain calm even when it's not exactly how you want it to be. But what if it was better? What if what's happening is actually better and is the way it needs to be? So you're someone who gets that, but in some aspects of your life, you're not. There's a pull and there's a struggle and there's resistance to that. So that's almost like your spiritual connection this month, is to take a look at that. Why is it so easy for me to do it with this thing, but why is it so difficult with this thing? Well, when there's relationships, if there's a person, a living, breathing human being involved, that's so much deeper. Can you have the conversations? Can you have these conversations with yourself? Can you trust that what's being shown to you is not because you've been punished or because you've done wrong? It's just what's a part of your path. But where do you not want it to happen again? And what are you willing to do or become in order to solidify this change? A lot of you, it comes from a deep-rooted pattern and this incessant unwillingness to give up, for sure. But you're so smart. So it's hard to believe that you don't have the answers or you don't have the capacity. But sometimes it just is what it is, and air signs all go through this. So Aquarius season, as much as it wants you to do your thing, and it's a very powerful season, especially with so much in Aquarius for air signs, it really wants you to understand that this is all for a greater purpose. That everything that happens this month is really for a greater purpose. It is. And I know that you're like, well, you can get to those points where it's like, well, fuck you. Like, what do you mean this is for a greater purpose? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, it is. And it's just up to you to continue to decide what that means. Because it doesn't have to mean the same thing it meant a month ago. It doesn't have to mean the same thing I think it means. It's up to you to decide what it is what makes sense for you. What breathes truth for you. And I think by the end of the month, this change, this overall shift, this tower moment that happens is going to shock some people. Oh well. Sorry guys, gotta fix myself. It may shock some people, but that's what you do. And what you do with that and how you decide to make the changes and take the changes and understand and learn to put your gratitude in. There's an overall look at what's real for you. And it sets you up for the next course. This could be the same situation. You just see things differently, so you have to go in and make minor changes now. But it's going to help the overall. Before you're just cleaning up where it need be, but now you found, and finally it's like, that's what it is. That's the detail I need to go for. Boom, this is going to change everything. We're going in. Great. When are you going to start? Make that plan. That's a lot of cards, guys. That's a lot of cards. I'm not doing that, sorry. We'll do these too. Make the plans. Set them in motion. If there's a Sagittarius in your life, they're ready. And they also could feel overbearing right now. But we'll get more into that into the next part. Okay. Soft and fierce, who you are. I see you, don't worry. Okay, first part. Also, happy Valentine's Day for those of you who celebrate or care, or maybe just find some extra sweetness this month for yourselves. I'll see you next month in Pisces season. Remember that the second part is below in a link on Patreon, which is a place where creators go and share more content for an equal exchange. Also, information to work with me one-on-one is below as well. And I look forward to seeing you in the next part. All right, Gemini?